Welcome to The Business of Family, the podcast where we explore the stories, challenges, and opportunities of family businesses. I'm your host, Tammy Buss, and I'm a family business survivor and also a family business advisor. In this show, we will be talking with family business leaders and experts to bring you insights and inspiration so you too can survive your family business journey. Whether you're a founder, a successor, a professional, or just curious about family businesses, this podcast is for you. Welcome back to the Business of Family podcast. I'm your host, Tammy Buss, and as we head into Christmas, I wanted to talk about something that sits right at the intersection of family and business, and that's traditions. Not the commercial kind, but the small rituals that quietly hold families and teams and generations together. Today, we're exploring why traditions matter and how they shape the family enterprise and how you can create or revive rules that strengthen both the business circle and the family circle. And, the thing with rituals and traditions is they give us predictability in a world that's constantly changing. They create belongings, they reinforce identities, and in family business, they become part of the cultural and the glue that holds the family and the organization together. Today, I want to focus on really the business circle and the family circle. And traditions give both circles really rhyme and meaning. So one of the stories I like to talk about is, the ham story. And if you have ever listened to me speak, you know that I always use this in when we talk about traditions. So a young woman's in the kitchen. It's Christmas time, and she's watching her mom, and her mom's cutting off the ends of the ham. And she says, "Why do you cut off the ends of the ham, Mom?" And she says, "Well, that's just the way we always do it." And so she says, "Why don't you go ask Grandma? Because I learned this from Grandma." So she goes into the other room and says, "Grandma, why do you cut the ends off the ham?" She goes, "Well, I don't really know, but you know what? Go ask Great Grandma. She's right here. And I'm sure she can remember. Great Grandma, why do you cut the ends off the ham before you cook it?" And the grandma looks at her and says, "Well, because it didn't fit in the pan." So, that's really just about traditions. And a lot of times we don't even know how they started, but they just get passed down over and over and over again. And I was actually thinking about that this weekend when I was doing some Christmas cooking and baking. And I don't know why, but whenever I'm putting something in the freezer, I always put saran wrap over top of it and then tinfoil. So I don't know if that's the way you should do it, but I just know that that's the way I was taught. So, when it comes to families and businesses, there are things that we inherit, and there's decisions and patterns. Some are helpful, some are not. But you know what? The holidays give us a chance to pause and ask, what traditions are we keeping intentionally? And what are we keeping simply because we've always done it that way? So let's look at the business circle. So the business circle traditions can be really powerful cultural anchors. Some of my favorite examples from, family businesses include year-end thank you notes, to from the owners to the staff. I think that's a really nice tradition to maintain. Or holiday breakfast where everybody gets together, or lunch, right? Or shutting down early. One of the things we used to do is a couple days before Christmas, we take the afternoon, we'd bring in lunch, and we'd watch a Christmas movie in the boardroom. Those are traditions, right? And really, it's about your business and your traditions. And so when you look at, your traditions, it could be like, what was the biggest win this year? Or, what are you most grateful for? And I really think gratitude is very important, particularly this time of the year, we tend to think about it. But these small, consistent, traditions help people feel seen and heard and appreciated. And I think that's very important when it comes to the business part of your family business. And then in the family circle traditions, so the family circle, what traditions are there? This is what keeps the glue together. It's kind of like the ham story, right? It's who we are and, what we value. So you can take a look at things like, your Christmas morning. Does that ever change? How, you repeat stories over and over again. And sometimes even get a little bit better the more you tell them, right? And, one of the family traditions in our house is walking the dogs at Christmas morning. Generally, it's a one-person job, but the whole family goes out Christmas morning and walks the dogs, takes them up to the park and lets them run. Could be, in our case, we have a Christmas Eve party every year. We've done it for over 30 years. I mean, those are just traditions, and people love them. But a tradition can slightly change as well. We actually had to move it just from Christmas Eve to, just before Christmas because of all the families now that have kids and grandkids, and it becomes a little more complicated. But it's still a tradition. Everybody looks forward to it. Again, talking about what you're grateful for. Or the family photo. We have a family photo that's been taken for many, many years on our friend's staircase. And we go there for Christmas breakfast. And so there's always a family photo. And it's nice to look back and see people who, you haven't seen in a long time. Like my mom was part of those photos, and she's no longer here. So again, I think it's really important that you look at, creating new traditions or reviving or maintaining those traditions, both in the family and in the business. So when you're reflecting, this time of year, here's a couple of things. What tradition is worth keeping and strengthening? Or what new tradition can we now install in the family because now we have grandkids or, daughters-in-laws or son-in-laws that we want to either embrace them into the existing traditions or bring in some new ones. And then again, what's the ones that we can retire? Well, having, 35 people over Christmas Eve is a little more complicated now. So the night before is easier because you got little kids and they're prepared and excited for Santa, so you can't keep them up too late. And then, how can you look at your business and your family and keep them connected in a real meaningful way? So just in closing, I just want to say that, as you head into Christmas, I hope you take a moment to reflect on some of the small rituals and traditions that shape your family and your business, because a lot of times they're more powerful than you think. So from my family and the BlueRoots team, we just want to wish you Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and thank you for being a part of this community.
If you like this episode, subscribe to the Business of Family podcast on your favorite listening platform. You can also find BlueRoots on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. On the next show, I'll be back with another amazing guest who will inspire you with their family business insights. Until then, take care and keep it in the family. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, tax, investment, or insurance advice. Before acting on any advice, please contact your personal or company advisors.